Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure Deputy Mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
And these are the same kinds of people who would constantly peddle President Trump with the same questions of, is he a racist? But now this clown doesn't even want to answer the question. Welcome to the John Amanchukwu Show. Do me a big favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your kind support. In this episode, we will examine some of the statements that Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is on pace to being worse than Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Now, that's hard to do because Lori Lightfoot was detestable and hard to look at. Somebody say Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. But Mayor Brandon Johnson, I mean, he's a little bit more appealing, but his policies and the framework of what he's done in Chicago, you know, has Chicago in a bad place. And not only have whites witnessed the failure of Mayor Brandon Johnson, but blacks and Hispanics have as well, albeit Mayor Brandon Johnson has brought in many criminal illegal aliens and tried to turn Chicago into a sanctuary city. And it's not going to work because Chicagoans have had enough of him. So he recently went to a church on May 18th, 2025, just a few days ago. He went to Apostolic Church of God in Woodlawn, and Mayor Johnson gave a speech, and he tried to pander towards the black community. But you're going to find out in this episode that Mayor Brandon Johnson is in big, big trouble. Watch.
Some detractors that will push back on me and say, you know, the only thing that the mayor talks about is the hiring of black people. No, what I'm saying is when you hire our people, we always look out for everybody else. We are the most generous people on the planet.
Okay.
I don't know too many cultures that have play cousins. That's how generous we are. We just make somebody a family member.
Play
right?
cousins.
That's just
Look
how
at
we
the
are.
preacher there.
And so business and economic neighborhood development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure Deputy Mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Senior Advisor is a black man.
All right, so there you have it. Mayor Brandon Johnson is there talking about all the different people that he hired, all of the black women, all of the black men that he's hired. But at the end of the day, how is Chicago faring? Has their economy improved? Are people moving to Chicago, or are they moving out of Chicago? What are his constituents saying about him in Chicago? You know, you can't just take the position in his role that I'm going to make all of my hiring processes about hiring black people. No, Mayor Brandon Johnson, you have been elected to govern for all people. So you don't want to take the position at a church of all places that, oh yeah, I'm doing this for black people, I'm doing that for black people, I'm doing that for black people, and you think that's going to bode well with people in your district. And so recently, he was interrogated and he was asked the big question. You know that question that that blacks love to ask whites? That question of the R word. Are you racist? Yes, someone asked him that same question. And watch how he responds. Watch.
Real Chicagoans woke up this morning relieved that the Department of Justice is finally investigating your race hustle. As someone who grew up on the south side of Chicago, I've heard a lot of race hustlers in my life, trust me. But they were usually marching around outside of City Hall, which is what makes this so embarrassing and dangerous. Very, very dangerous to the city of Chicago.
Okay, we need the question.
I'm more than happy to ask this question. It's long overdue. For over a year, real Chicagoans, white and black, have been telling me that your black power rhetoric is bringing the city backwards from a place that
We need the question.
had overcome. You want the question?
Please.
Real Chicagoans want to know, why are you a racist?
Well, first of all, I reject the idea and the premise that somehow that's an actual legitimate question.
Hold up now. Hold up, Mayor Brandon Johnson. You went to Apostolic Church of God in Woodlawn, and your conversation with the preacher on stage to the audience was about who you have hired that's black. That's all you talked about. Imagine a white person going to a white church and saying, yes, I hired a white this, and I hired a white that, and I hired a white this. Oh, yeah, and I hired this person, they're white. And yeah, this person also I hired, and they were white. Or imagine a Hispanic doing the same thing, going to a Christian church and talking about all of the Hispanics that they hired. Do you think that someone is going to assess those statements and say, well, dang, if he's making a big deal out of it, maybe that's the central focus at the end of the day. He just wants to only hire people that looks like him. It's tribalism. And so for someone to ask the logical question, especially with all of his fake black power banter, which means nothing, a big whopping nothing, the question is, are you racist? And you know what he says? That's not a legitimate question. And these are the same kinds of people who will constantly peddle President Trump with the same questions of, is he a racist? Is he a racist? Is he a racist? Trump is a racist. But now this clown doesn't even want to answer the question and defend his honor and explain why he's pushing this type of rhetoric in his district. It makes no sense. Watch.
All right, we're going to go to the next one. Alice?
The next question, my follow-up question is a businessman, Robert Gomez, had his riverfront restaurant license yanked. You said that the reason you hire black people is because they're the most generous race on the planet. His riverfront restaurant license was yanked and given to a black restaurateur. That has, once again, reinforced the belief among real Chicagoans, white and black and Mexican, that you are a racist. What do you say to those people?
Again, I reject the premise that somehow that your question has any legitimacy. Thank you for your time, sir.
All right, so the DOJ has opened up an investigation against Mayor Brandon Johnson. The U.S. Department of Justice has opened a civil rights probe into his hiring practices in the same manner that we would expect that someone would do if it was a white mayor saying the same thing. I would expect the same thing. It should be no difference. And this investigation is being led by Assistant Attorney General Harmeet K. Dillon. And the investigation is focused on potential violations of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits hiring discrimination based on race. And so Mayor Johnson's defense. Johnson's office responded by saying this: the hiring reflects Chicago's racial and cultural diversity. The current administration is more in line with the city's values than the federal government. Claims are being viewed as a politically motivated attack on a diverse administration. And so right now the investigation is ongoing, and we will soon hear more information back from the DOJ. And so Harmeet Dillon sent a letter on May 19th to Mayor Brandon Johnson, and she unpacks many of these issues and violations. One thing that she points out in particular, she says, our investigation is based on information suggesting that you have made hiring decisions solely on the basis of race. And your remarks made yesterday at the Apostolic Church of God in Woodlawn, you highlighted the number of black officials in your administration. You then went on to list each of these individuals, emphasizing their race. You said, Business and Economic Neighborhood Development, the deputy mayor is a black woman. Department of Planning and Development is a black woman. Infrastructure Deputy Mayor is a black woman. Chief Operations Officer is a black man. Budget Director is a black woman. Senior Advisor is a black man. You then said that you were laying these positions out to ensure that our people get a chance to grow their business. Considering these remarks, I have authorized an investigation to determine whether the city of Chicago is engaged in a pattern or practice of discrimination as set forth above. If these kind of hiring decisions are being made for top-level positions in your administration, then it begs to question whether such decisions are also being made for lower-level positions. It is important to note that we have not reached any conclusions about the subject matter of the investigation. We intend to consider all relevant information, and we welcome your assistance in helping to identify what that might be. We would appreciate your cooperation in our investigation. So, Mayor Brandon Johnson is in hot water. Why? Because it appears that the very thing that we don't want to take place, he is doing. He's hiring people solely because they are black and going to black churches and celebrating about that. Let me know what you think below in the comment section. Am I right or am I wrong? Am I weak or am I strong? God bless you and God bless America.